they should sign in.
You would speak after your presentation?
It'll be during the public hearing section. Which, if you want to address the council, you'll need to sign that. They'll make it clear to you when you can come up. Yep.
Everyone, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Remain standing for a short invocation. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear God, as we gather this evening, we thank you for this wonderful town that we live in. This council also thanks you for the opportunity to serve this town. We ask for your strength, courage, and wisdom. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I'm going to call to order the special call meeting of the Mooresville Town Council, January 31st, 2023. I've been asked by several people, if you would, Greg, Josh, I think Shane and Jeff already done it. If you can pull the microphone just a little bit closer.
I was just saying, I noticed the hands.
Yeah. This is a public hearing for our annexation of the Patel property. We have a gentleman here representing the Patel property, or the investors. This property was rezoned back in 1998. There were several public hearings. At the time, the Morningside residents, everything that they spoke to, addressed, was taken into very strong consideration and adopted by both the Planning Commission and the seated council at the time. Buffering, protecting your properties as far as noise, as far as aesthetics, what you would and would not be able to see, as far as lighting. And there are several special restrictions that are put on the covenants and restrictions of this property for the day that it was to be developed. And I think at the time, and still today, I think that those covenants and restrictions were fair to both the adjoining property owners and the developing property owners. I think they were pretty strict. At a similar time, the property north of you was considered for mining, and that was rejected by both the Planning Commission and the Town Council at that time also. One of the restrictions on here is there will be no mining on it. We learn as we go. Lighting is addressed on where and how it will shine, not to create a white or light pollution into your properties. I just saw your questions. I apologize I didn't have it sooner to where I could maybe be a little more direct to them.
I just brought them tonight, so.
Well, and that's all right. That is the aquifer is in that area. Hill Water Company does have their main wells and pumps in that area. We've always been conscientious of that. That is a wellhead protection area, and everything that is considered to go in here does have to address and meet those guidelines set out by the IDEM and the Clean Water Acts throughout the United States. So a lot of your concerns that I looked over just briefly have been and will be at the top of our list on things that need to be addressed and protected. This gentleman here, he was when you look at that property and it was rezoned back in '99, and here we are, 24 years later, and someone says, we can do that. You have to consider that, or hopefully you think that this is a company that is out for looking after the environmental issues, the being a good neighbor, being a kind neighbor issues, and in 24 years it took someone to step up to the plate to say, hey, we are going to try to address these issues for you. 24 years is a long time for a parcel of ground to sit. I think that it sat because of the restrictions that were on the property, and that's not a bad thing. We haven't made a single parcel of ground since that was rezoned. It is what it is. What we have today is all we're ever going to have. The annexation portion of it, when that was rezoned, it was part of the non-jurisdictional buffering zone. That gave the town of Mooresville, the Planning Commission, the Board of Zoning Appeals, the Town Council, some type of control over what did and did not go into those areas. We lost that. The county said, we can do it just as well or better than you can, and over a few year span, they got all their ducks in a row, and last December, we lost every bit of the non-jurisdictional control, the buffer zone, if you would. And that includes the subdivision that you live in. The annexation portion of this are kind of a twofold. We do want to be able to control our covenants and restrictions. It's not to say that those covenants and restrictions would go away once we lost that buffer zone, but any type of variance from those would be out of the control of the town of Mooresville. The town of Mooresville set these covenants and restrictions, and a variation from them, I would hope, would be looked upon as unfavorable. Can I promise you that? No. Can I promise you or state that I don't know that that would be addressed in the same manner at a county level? I don't know that it would be. The other side of it is usually when you see a industrial investment into the town of Mooresville, most all companies ask for and usually receive some type of financial benefit to coming to Mooresville. We're all in that competitive range of trying to locate jobs within our communities, whether it's Mooresville, Plainfield, or Angola. We're all trying to attract the jobs. We want a place for our peoples to be able to work and have gainful employment. A redevelopment board, which captures the TIF areas, the incremental financing that happens in a TIF area, have the opportunities to make offers, abate taxes, build infrastructure, and do a lot of what the private sector may or may not do on their own. The only way that the redevelopment board can become a player into this is if they are if that property is in our taxing unit, to where they can be a participant in that. The infrastructure that could go in there is unlimited. The job training, the abatements on the investments. If you guys look from your house, if you look to the north, the large 500,000 gallon water tank that sets up on a hill was purchased by our redevelopment board many years ago when that industrial ground developed. Yes, it does help that business, but it also helps with the fire suppression within our South Territory, including yours. So there are some benefits to the investments that our redevelopment makes, besides the obvious investment into one specific company to move this town. We can do others. There are talks. I saw one thing where you asked if the infrastructure would go, the infrastructure to go in there, would it be, and I don't want to say municipal water because the town does not own the water company, but would it be a water provided by a company and sanitary sewer? Part of the covenants and restrictions are absolutely, it has to be. There has been talk about trying to make that same type of investment into your subdivision. The problem again would be the revenues that we would have to be able to make that type of investment can only be spent within the civil town of Mooresville. So to say, hey, we want to drop sewers into your subdivision, we can't do it until we do receive the request, hopefully, of an annexation from the subdivision as a whole. The town of Mooresville, to the best of my knowledge, going back as far as I can find, has never done any type of forced annexation. You have to annex into the town of Mooresville. They've never done that. We've always asked that it be a voluntary, or in this case here, a super voluntary. They come in and say, hey, we'll do anything and everything to be annexed. So are those opportunities on the horizon? Yes, we have discussed that in the past, but I think it would be something that would take a lot of time and a lot of cooperations between this board and the homeowners within your subdivision. I talked too much, I know. I'm sorry. Can you lay out the guidelines for the public hearing?
Sure. So this is a public hearing on a super voluntary annexation petition. So this is a time where the town council will receive any comments that any member of the public wishes to provide for their consideration. It is a receiving situation only. We can provide some information kind of as Tom has, but this is for the receipt of information for the town council to help them reach a decision on the annexation, which will not occur tonight. Today is just the public hearing. That annexation decision and the ordinance will be considered at a later meeting. So, it's up to you to come up and state whether you're for or against, or ask any questions that you may want to ask, and we put it on the record. So,
At this time, I will call for any discussion. Anyone that wants to address the council on this issue.
Yeah,
You have signed up. Yes, please.
do I just stand up or?
You stand up, and we would ask that you state your name for the record.
Okay. I'm Jeff Lovelace. I'm here with my wife, Mary. We live on Woodside Drive in Morningside Acres. Morningside Acres, I think, has 37 or 39 houses that would be just to the north of this 46 acres. I do remember the meetings. I didn't know the year back in 98 or 99. We've lived there 31 years, so I was aware of that. One thing I would ask is, would it be possible to get a copy of the different covenants that you referred to that were passed in 99? We got a certified letter on Saturday. I think basically we had until, I think it's tomorrow or the next day to respond. So, I wrote just a lot of questions on those 3 pages because I was just really unsure about the whole process. And as I've come in, and I was talking to Jeff earlier, I guess there's 3 boards that are kind of involved in this, the decision making. Obviously we're worried about the pollution aspects. You mentioned the aquifer. Back in 99, the guy who developed our addition, who built the houses, his last name was Morley, and he's passed on. But at that time, he addressed whatever committee we went to at this meeting at the high school, and he pointed out the dangers of mining or gravel pit to the north of us, and in a subsequent meeting, that project was dropped after they had consulted with, I think it was the Department of Natural Resources, because the aquifer was such a key thing, not only to our 39 houses that have wells there, but also to the Hill Water Company. But, and then, you know, we're concerned about, of course, the noise and the light. We're also interested in the hours that this facility would be open. We can hear where we live on Morningside Acres, and we're not the back street, but we can hear the noise of the forklifts and trucks backing up from Packmore. And this is going to be a lot closer. So, of course, Packmore is a 24-hour facility, so, you know, we're interested in, is this going to be a 24-hour facility? There's also mention in there about a possible later development of 15 acres that would include a railroad spur. And again, we were interested in the hours of that. You know, we don't know if there's going to be like trucks coming in to offload onto the trains all night long. And of course, lights being on and the noise from that. So, you know, we would hope that if this facility does come to pass, that it would have business type hours, maybe be done by 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, something of that nature, so that it's not a constant disruption through the night. So, you know, we responded quickly to the deadline of getting these comments, and then we just found out yesterday, late in the evening, that there was going to be this meeting, so I didn't know the nature of everything and the procedures that go down with this. But, you know, and in talking to a couple of our neighbors, because they work during the day, they still haven't received their letter. They hadn't been able to get down to the post office to retrieve it. So this has kind of come as a big surprise to people in our neighborhood, and we didn't know if this was going to be voted on tonight. And then at this February 9th meeting, we didn't know if things were going to be a done deal. But, you know, so we were worried about the timelines and the speed of how quickly this is all going to be approved. So those are some of the questions. I just wanted to express those concerns to this board, and I guess we'll go to the other meetings as well. You know, we have a lot of families there, a lot of children. You know, I had talked to Mr. Bennett yesterday, and he had talked about, I guess there's supposed to be like an earthen mound that separates our addition from this, and there's supposed to be trees planted. You know, I don't know if there needs to be fencing for security reasons, so that we have a lot of young families. You know, we don't want kids wandering into a place where there's, you know, a railroad spur and going to be semi trucks coming in and out. Again, a lot of that depends on the hours of operation. So I don't know if those are questions that you guys respond to, or is that with the redevelopment commission, or just which group? But I thought I'd throw all that out and
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I can address some of your questions. First of all, you made a statement about 3 different boards for this. There will be several different boards that will be involved with the development of this property, but the determination as to the annexation itself is this town council only. And so with that said, you know, you're talking about the timeline. Annexation is becoming more and more statutorily governed. And so with a super voluntary annexation, there is a timeline that is put on by the legislature. So we had to have this hearing today, by today's date. You have to take action within, I think, 60 days from the date of the petition. And if you don't take action by that, the petitioner can actually file a suit with the circuit court in Morgan County to declare the property annexed. So even if there's no action taken in the time frame, they can move forward with a suit to force the annexation or the question of the annexation. When you talk about this property, there is a buffer zone. So like Tom had indicated, this had been zoned as a planned unit development industrial back in 1999. February 11th, it looks like, for the record. And so with that said, there's a 100-foot buffer, it looks like, that it butts the Morningside addition. that's supposed to be a raised mound with, so construct a landscape mounds and plant conifer trees and shrubs prior to the beginning of any construction or improvements. 200 pine trees, minimum 6 feet tall, shall be planted on the mounds within the buffer strip. The mound shall be constructed to a height of 10 feet above adjacent ground. So that is the buffer zone that's part of this PUD that's been approved. So before anything can occur, development-wise, otherwise, they have to do that. The special restrictions and covenants that they agreed to are: 1, any area lighting within the PUD shall be shielded from casting direct lighting towards any residential area. 2, no access to the PUD shall exist through Rainbow Lane, and this road will be left open only for access to the lift station on the property for sanitary sewers. 3, property owners in the Morningside addition are to be notified by the owner of any property in the PUD by certified mail of any plan commission meeting where this PUD will be on the agenda for proposed action by the developer. 4, the following uses are strictly prohibited in this PUD: anhydrous ammonia or liquefied fertilizer storage or distribution. B, junkyard or salvage yard. C, explosives manufacturing or storage. D, petroleum tank farm for retail or wholesale distribution. E, mineral extraction, including gravel and sand mining. F, public or private sanitary landfill. G, storage or dismantling of disabled vehicles. H, penal or correctional institutions. I, commercial slaughterhouse. So those are all of the restrictions that were agreed to that are special restrictions and covenants above and beyond what are in the zoning ordinance itself. For a PUDI, there's certain uses that can be utilized in a PUDI. I don't have that all with me right now, so I can't rattle those off. But those are the special restrictions and covenants that are tied to this. Any changes to those restrictions and covenants or how this PUD is laid out is going to have to, that's where we bring in the other boards, right? So the plan commission would have to hear anything if they're trying to change anything on this. It would essentially be like a rezoning of the property. So they'd have to go through this process again. Those are the statements that I can remember that are responsive to some of the questions you've asked, but I'm happy to go in any further detail.
The covenants that you mentioned, are those all the covenants that?
These are the special restrictions and covenants. So these are above and beyond what are required in the zoning ordinance.
And I'm trying to look from far away. Is that a schematic of a map of some kind?
Yeah, so it is on the plat. So whenever you do one of these, you have to have a plat that is recorded in the recorder's office so people can look at it. And so it is recorded with the property so that it runs with the property.
Would it be possible for me to obtain one of those?
I'll get you one of these.
Another thing we were concerned about, and I don't know if this land is in the Mooresville area, but I drove around yesterday to look at this area, and so one of the things we just want to make sure, and I don't know what all pieces of property have which covenants, but there's a facility on Old 67, and it's kind of across from where, and I don't even know the street name, but it's the street that, what is it? I think it's actually the next street down, but it's the street that goes to the brick company. And there's a trucking company on the south side of 67 there that's just looks like a junkyard. I don't know if that's part of the Mooresville area, but we just want to make sure we don't end up with something that looks like that. Because if you live next to that trucking company, it would definitely affect home values. And we just want to make sure whatever goes in there is a quality facility, not only with what they're doing, but with the aesthetics of the place. And one of the places that was mentioned in the letter we got on Saturday, the certified letter, it talked about an environmental company that was going to go in there. And I'm trying to remember how it was phrased, but I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't going to be any chemicals stored in this environmental company. it's an environmental company of some kind, and,
Believe it may have been listed as E-Tank. Mike, is that the company? And I know that they have looked here in the town, and I think they just rent the equipment for off-site use.
That's correct. The petition tonight is not so much about what the end users would be, but about the annexation, and if this would be the highest and best use to have it zoned PUDI, as it has been planned between the county and the town for years. But there has been conversation. We have had also in the last year, we looked at it and conferred with the town council last year about whether or not it should be rezoned for residential development. And the town council members individually indicated, no, we'd like to stick with the plan and use it for industrial development in the future because it's part of the commerce corridor there along State Road 67. So if E-Tank were to be a tenant, they would be farther to the south down by Packmore. But this, again, isn't really about the end users. It's about the annexation into the.
But it was put in a letter delivered to him, and he asked.
E-Tank is pure speculation, as are they all, because none of this would occur until we go through the processes. So at this point in time, it's still just speculation.
so, yeah, what it referred to in the letter, it said 15 acres for an environmental container and pump supply company.
And it's a company that, for example, is an industrial service provider that rents industrial size equipment. As an example, let's say Packmore had a massive water spill. They could go next door to this company if it were there, and they could rent a massive water pump system or vacuum system to recollect that. So they do dumpsters, they do all sorts of industrial type use, supply and maintenance stuff. They have looked elsewhere in the community. The site that they looked at previously in the community could not fit their needs because of a drainage issue that could not be resolved. So they've been working with the developer and the petitioner, now the property owner, to see if the property would be annexed. I will say this to you, that if it were not annexed, the county government would certainly work with the town to try and secure extraterritorial sewer on a surcharge for the industrial use, because I think we've all looked at this plan and indicated to ourselves the highest and best use for that location is industrial development. Well, obviously, with the conditions that were mentioned by council. I will suggest to you that I have worked closely with this developer. I've encouraged this developer, and the developer is not going to bring you down on State Road 67, and it's not going to bring you what you see across the street on State Road 60, on the highway on the other side. It's going to be a vast improvement as to how the commercial corridor is going to appear on that side of Mooresville.
Are there schematics and drawings of what they're proposing?
I don't have those for you right now, because right now we're not talking about their site development, we're talking about annexation of the real estate into the town.
Again, that would be something helpful for our group.
And so that you understand too, that will go through the Plan Commission. The Plan Commission in the PUDI zoning will do the site plan review and ensure that everything meets the standards as far as use and site development. But again, the council's issue is only annexation of the property now into the town.
Well, like I say, I'm not up on what all the different responsibilities of the boards are. So I just want to make sure that all the boards know how the residents of Morningside Acres would feel. So, yeah, I would, again, if you can give me that map and those regulations, I'd greatly appreciate it. Like we're saying, we're just kind of in the beginning process of knowing what's going on. So, thank you.
Any other comments, questions?
I have one question. The plan that was included in the letter to us, none of us can read it because it's so small.
And see, we weren't given that, we did not send that.
Okay,
That's
I
going to
didn't know
be,
if you
that's
maybe
going to
had
be
a
back to the planning
larger
commission.
Copy of that we can't read it.
I'm sure probably at the planning.
We got out a magnifying glass. It is so small that it's like, gosh, I can't believe it, you know.
My magnifying glass wasn't strong enough.
I know
I
that.
didn't know if you had a larger copy of it.
I do not, but I'm sure at the planning commission meeting, they will have that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Our next step?
The next step would be to close a public hearing, and then there will be an ordinance for consideration on the annexation. Again, that's not the development of the property. It is whether or not this property becomes part of the civil town of Mooresville. And we'll get it on the agenda and have that advertised, so.
Need a motion to close the meeting.
The public
Motion to the public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing?
Have a motion, do I have a second? Motion made and seconded, all in favor? Aye. Craig, Josh, 5-0. Now, when we originally said this, we were going to do just the annexation hearing, but Jeff brought it to my attention that there were some IT issues that needed our attention before our next meeting.
That's correct. Seth, if you want to step up and kind of explain what our meeting was about and what was presented, and the steps we need to take as a town to help correct some of our IT problems.
I'm Seth Wells. I work for Telemagik, so the IT company for the town. It was brought to our attention that specifically the police department was having a major issue with receiving emails, sending them, basically because Office 2016 and what they currently have is no longer supported with their Office 365 emails. So what it is the actual program itself is 2016. Their emails are hosted on 365, and because of that, I know they're in the same wheelhouse, but they don't work together. So many times people like the chief was having an issue receiving his email. It was capable, but it was only through the web. So the full functionality of Office and everything was not there, and it was many of the officers, especially the PD and so forth, they had to find workarounds and stuff just to get into their email and just daily communication. So the simplest fix would just be to upgrade the licenses from what I believe we currently have is just the G1s, I think, is the current, and we would move them to the G3. The G3 is the most basic one where you can download the programs natively to the computer. So no more functionality issues of not receiving email, of not being able to open attachments inside of Word, Excel, the programs as such. This would put everything in one wheelhouse. So I was told that the police department would like it, of course, with the 40 seats, but I was also proposed that the town moves everybody to a G3, so it'd be about 120 seats. I have the proposals here if you guys would like to see them. Biggest thing is to make things easier to manage, and the switchover would be minimal. All they would need to do is myself and Ellsroth would help remove 2016 off the police department's computers and then install the brand new 365. They still use the same usernames, same emails, same passwords. It's just that they would have access to the programs locally on their computers.
So do they have the 365? We just did this once.
Right. The emails are hosted on 365, so that's different. So like, their logins to PD and more so. But their actual applications they use to access the email, like Outlook and Word and so forth, those are 2016. And that is literally the cutoff. Anything at 2016 and older, Microsoft doesn't support anymore with 365 emails. So because of the new security protocols and whatnot and so forth, because they're trying to combat hacking and all kinds of other stuff.
That mean we're going to have to upgrade 2016 on everyone's desktop?
For those that have 2016, we would have to remove it, which of course is part of the 10 hours or 20 hours, depending on whether we do just the police department or the whole town. And then all you have to do is log in and download those applications natively. You will not lose any documents. You don't lose any emails. Nothing like that.
And that cost is covered within the 24
Yes, ma'am.
something?
The only real issue would be, of course, with the police department because the officers don't have administrative access. That's something myself and Ellsroth can help with. But at, like the town and whatnot, just removing 2016 if it's even on there, because I know some people have already switched to, or don't even have, or 2019, either way. But I can make basically a workflow document and send it out. If anybody needs help, of course, I'm available. And it really takes about as long as it takes to download it, which is 20 minutes maybe.
So,
How are we currently on Microsoft 365 with G1, did you say?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That gives you access to
Right.
the online apps. So,
Right.
go ahead, sorry.
Right now, I've got Office 2016.
Yep.
And on my Outlook, when I go in and look at my account, it shows that I got the cloud and the sites and everything.
Right.
So why is that showing up if it's not compatible with 2016?
As they move, they didn't shut everything off with a light switch. So that's why throughout the police department, I believe it was Kevin Julian came in first with the issue, and this is where I found all this out, that they're rolling out these waves, if you will, of if you have 2016, they're going to start removing access, which is why the guys were having onesies and twosies throughout the department showing up saying they could no longer use, like they couldn't access their email. Of course, that was just with the 2016 Outlook application. So if we just let this go, eventually everybody who has 2016 is going to get hit, and they will no longer be able to access using Outlook. So with the 365, the updated G3 licenses where we can download these applications, it removes all those problems and keeps everything updated automatically.
All the emails migrated to the 360, the cloud.
Exactly.
But this is we're talking about the programs that operate it. That's different than we haven't done this twice. We're dealing with, we took emails from a server, migrated them to a cloud. Then this is the Microsoft Office suite, so to speak.
Basically so that they can access things locally instead of having to use.
And we've got different versions of this.
All over, yeah.
All over the place.
Mm-hmm. And some are now, of course, outdated.
I've been told that some of them at the police station are home versions or maybe business versions, but certainly not government versions.
It wouldn't be bad either, too, to be able to get our hands on all of them, too, to get everybody on the, kind of the same stage so that we all know what we're dealing with. But it will alleviate the issue of the police department, especially not being able to access emails or just without having to use the web and stuff. They can just go straight to Outlook.
What are all the applications or the programs, whatever you want to call
So the
it?
big ones like Outlook, Excel, PowerPoint, Teams, Word, exactly. I think you're missing like Access and Publisher, but that's. Any other questions?
Software updates, are those going to be automatically pushed out
They are.
through
Just,
cloud?
They come through just like Windows updates. So every once in a while, they'll just need to restart, and they'll come through just the same as a.
And how do we get invoiced for that, or is that included in the $24.95 as well?
Right, so it's a monthly. It'll be a monthly invoice for all the seats.
Okay, so
And-
all of this comes within, for the $24.95, because I know that they have 4 different types of subscriptions, and it's very robust if you get up into the 5.
Right.
And, they have a set of capabilities that meets the necessary regulation controls. So those regulation controls don't come with anything other than the government?
Correct. Microsoft has released you have to apply for like a top secret one stuff, but they keep their data, of course, in the cloud. When we say the cloud, it's actually a physical location somewhere. But they put out that they have actual sites in the United States that house like governmental institutions' data about as secure as it's going to get. And they do offer that for the municipalities and whatnot, as long as you have a GCC license. Of course, if you have like top secret stuff, like federal stuff, it's different. But this does come with that, the GCC3.
Now, will this, I hope I'm not asking too many questions,
No.
guys. Does this do away with the current server that we have? Right now, we have a server up on the 2nd floor
Right.
in the computer room.
No, it does not.
It does not,
Because since you guys migrated the emails to 365, that removed the Exchange server, which you guys had previously, which was the local
Right.
server that handled all that. And I heard that was an issue, and it was sending out random emails and stuff, which is why we had to do the migration. No, that server, that doesn't handle that. And we shut down the Exchange, but that'll still be there.
okay, so we'll still be using that, saving our documents, and then the cloud will come in, and how's the cloud going to extrapolate those files on the server? I'm kind of confused. Is it real time? Say for example, I've got a document in the cloud right now, and I go and modify it. Okay, the cloud's got to know somehow that I modified that document, so it knows to come, how does that modified document get to the cloud?
An active internet connection. So OneDrive is the online storage. That's where it saves, that you can choose to save all of your stuff. If you save it to OneDrive, which it comes with a terabyte of space normally, as long as you have an active internet connection, when you've saved that document in your OneDrive, you can access it anywhere and edit it or do whatever you need to do, as long as you have internet.
But we're still gonna have the K drive, the S drive.
Exactly, that's
Okay.
different, right? That's
Right.
network storage, and yeah, but yes, that'll still be there. This is more for just like documents and stuff, not really your own kind of stuff. But the big one is the email, of course. Outlook seemed to be the major issue with the police department as of late, and this will alleviate that.
It's $24.50 a month, not $24.95 a month, correct? According to this.
I'll just have to see what Steve quoted you.
Yeah, 24.50.
And this $24.50 currently replaces the $10 a month that
Yes,
it's not in addition
it's
to.
not in addition to.
So it's 24 and a half times 120 seats.
Exactly. That's correct.
And how would this protect us from the phishing? I thought, it's my understanding that only comes with G5, that functionality, that feature, I should say.
Yeah, the phishing is, that's really up to, honestly, the end user, because you can't stop everyone from clicking everything. There is no 100%, bulletproof vest for email and, the phishing and the spam and all that stuff. It's really up to the end user to make sure if they're not aware of something, that reach out. You can mark things as phishing, and then it can be like edited or reviewed by somebody in IT or whatever, but for the most part, the virus stuff is there, but if the end user is downloading things, opening random emails, you can't stop that.
So how are we gonna educate the employees that we're gonna have this cloud? That they're gonna have the option to be able to save their documents on the cloud, or they need to go ahead and just save it on the local server?
Honestly, it's really no different. Because a lot of the employees, if they're using network drives already, for like you said, the K drive and whatnot, that will stay. The functionality of the OneDrive comes with it, but you don't have to use it. More of the focus is on, of course, the ability to have the updated programs and the functionality of Outlook locally instead of having to run through the web. And it's more robust features and stuff if you have the actual program locally instead of running it off a web page.
But it automatically updates through the web.
Exactly.
What about the security features of Outlook itself? Because you've got old versions down here that are old and
This would be the most up-to-date.
Not
Because you've got
government
365
versions.
Email with the most up-to-date Office. That's as secure as you're going to get.
yeah, I was pretty shocked when I heard that we didn't have. That was the first. I mean,
I was just shocked that
Chief
you
didn't
were.
let us know. The first I heard about it was in our meeting, and I'm
Right.
like, what the heck's going on here?
Yeah, when I had Officer Julian's laptop, I was like, "Where's
This
his
is
updates?
old.
What's going on?" And then I found out they'd been shut off for 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a problem. But we've since worked to alleviate that, and this is one step further to making things more secure.
Do you think it'll save the town on service calls or like people
Oh, absolutely.
not being able to
I mean, there'll be
communicate with
initial-
each other in the town? And
Exactly. There'll be an initial, work crossover phase from the old to new once you get everybody downloaded and and installed and whatnot. But this is going to work a lot smoother, and it's going to work more often. And yeah, it will really cut down on the calls as far as the guys having to come in and say, "Hey, I just can't access my stuff. What's going on?" Or the chief having to get on Facebook and say, "I can't get into my email." Because once we get it set up, as long as they know their username and password, that's it.
what about the communication, like say the Teams aspect with other municipalities or the state, or if you're having some kind of presentation that's online and
Technically, now you would now have access to Teams
Right.
with the G1, but the G3 is just going to be more of the.
well, we're paying for it separate
But it comes with it. So, but yeah,
in this case.
Exactly.
Yeah, but we're paying a monthly charge for it now, correct?
for Teams.
Teams.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's part of that $10. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that gets rolled into the 25, of course, with Teams and all the other programs.
So does he have something, a quote there to do 120 seats?
Yes, sir.
But I don't see it. Can I see it? May I please?
How new is this version?
This one came out 2022, but technically it's updated constantly. With the reoccurring subscription service that pretty much everything's going to anymore, they don't have like a date. It's like 2019, one-time purchase kind of a thing, and then they just kind of stop supporting it later on. It's as new as it gets. They roll it updates all the time. As long as you keep the Windows up to date, since it's a Microsoft product, it updates with it. It's seamless.
Eventually be obsolete like
Like everything else.
everything else.
Yeah. They'll make, the next latest and greatest.
Can an employee go in and mess with the update process, or will it do it regardless?
As long as they restart, it'll do it regardless.
Okay. And what about two authentications?
Oh, the multi-factor?
Yeah,
That is
for-
not mandatory yet.
Does
This
that help us?
supports all that. Microsoft hasn't rolled that out yet to make it mandatory. That would be a discussion for another time, because my concern with that is many times it goes back to cell phones. Well, if these people are not using their phones for work, how can we expect them to use their phones to log in? Then it becomes an issue too, as well as if I need to get in. With multi-factor, I can't get in, even as the admin, because you have to have the code and all that stuff. It has a capability, but you don't have to use it.
Seeing what our problems are with email over time, we had one come through the other day from just this week, or that looked like it appeared it came from Tom, and of course he didn't send it. Are those types of emails just going to happen no matter what you do from time to time?
If you're on the internet and you have email, that's going to happen. It's called spoofing. I guarantee it wasn't even from his inbox. You can just go online and spoof the email saying that it was from Mr. Wortham, but it absolutely wasn't.
Yeah.
In fact, I've had a lot of customers recently from AT&T emails sending out emails that they didn't send out, but it's their name. People looking to scam people. That's just going to happen. But if for something like when the entire server went down, that won't happen again, because that means Microsoft went down, and I think we'd have bigger problems at that point. So.
Want them to mention the server and the heated room and stuff, just so the council's aware of that problem.
Yeah, during our meeting, we also discussed some problems with our server room. There's pictures of that and all that stuff. He's getting some quotes to even rewire the town hall here, so those will be forthcoming also. So, and that's also part of the problem, correct?
They've had absolutely, there's been a lot of intermittent networking issues, as Diana knows about, and the intermittent, of course, are the hardest to diagnose, and it's basically a rat's nest up there, and I don't know that half of those things that are even plugged in go anywhere. I didn't put them in, of course, but we are working on getting a quote to remove, potentially run wire, and then, of course, replace with equipment that is more up to date, and then we will have an idea of where these things go, because the map we were given, the network map, is completely incorrect. It's useless to me. There's equipment on there that we had from the last IT company that's not even there. They have stuff on the ground we had to move off, and yeah.
The wiring is several generations old, as well as the room. When we went in, the room was I felt like it was at least 85 degrees.
Yeah, it's really
I've
hot
never been in a server room that was hot. Usually they're cool.
Yeah, and you're right, it's not supposed to be that way. And that was when? Probably what?
Just a few days ago,
Back in
a couple.
summertime?
No, it was in winter a few days ago. Yeah. If the sun's hitting that window, something needs to be done about that too. That was the first time I've been in a server room, and it looks like spaghetti. I mean, it's.
And I know for a fact Andrew and Steve had run a couple wires and they checked some things, and there's absolutely some shorts in those wires. And then I know for a fact there's some server or access points and stuff in the ceiling we don't even know about. We're going to have to run down. If we rerun the wire, then we'll know exactly where everything's at and remove a lot of the potential issues that have hit the network over here.
What is a switch? You guys keep talking about switches, and you have to fix some of ours or replace some of ours.
Just a switch basically just splits the signal. That's all it does. So you take like the one internet connection from your modem to the switch, and the switch could divide it up to 48 times to run to different computers or whatever. That's all it does. It divides the signal. It's basically just a traffic conductor.
And ours needs replaced or updated.
I think it's at least 10 years old, which is, of course, in computer years ancient.
Yeah, sure.
I'm pretty sure your internet's faster than your even network can even handle. You got fiber, I believe, up there, which is gig speed, and most of the stuff up there is like 100, which is getting bottlenecked. So,
How old is the wire up there?
I'd say at least 10 years. I mean, it's Cat 5. I mean, we're up to like 6 now. But I know it didn't sound
Cat
like a big
6 is
generational
obsolete
jump.
now.
But like, yeah, the 6 does like over 1,000 gig a second. I mean, you'd never hit that, but you know. But the capabilities are there. And there's all kinds of different wire in there too. Like, it's not just one set of wire, you know. It's just somebody just kind of went in there and threw stuff in there, so.
Heard that the cat line, heard the number, the more data that can go through there, but it does not interrupt the performance of the network. But what you're saying it does.
Absolutely. It's just like a firehouse. So you got so much, you can only handle so much data going through there. And of course, you know, it has to go both ways and all that. And the speeds absolutely do matter. I mean, usually the basic you want to have anymore is Cat 5e, but 6 is the best because the ceiling's much higher. But it absolutely can bog down network traffic. And all it takes is one switch in the network, just one port that's old and slow, will slow the entire thing down.
So are you saying that our current server is compatible with a Cat 6 line? I mean, is there some kind of, are you going to have to make some kind of adjustment to our network with a new switch or some kind of a?
If we get a new switch, no. The current switch, I'd have to look to make sure it's got enough ports as far as everything we need, because some of them may be PoE, which is power over Ethernet, which means that it runs electricity and internet over it, so things, you know, like the wireless access points that are nowhere near a plug. But yeah, I know there's hardware in the building that doesn't even come close to what it needs to do. The servers, it's kind of one of those things where if you're going to be up there and tear everything up, you might as well do it all at once.
Going to solve our internet issue as well?
Yes.
Our Wi-Fi?
Yes.
Because we've been without Wi-Fi in the building since 2021. I mean, it's been some time. I mean, I was up here today working with our recording equipment, and I was trying to go on YouTube on my personal cell phone to see if I was getting a response of what I was wanting. I want to make sure that I was getting audio and video, and I couldn't get a connection in this room.
And when I saw that rat's nest for the first time up there in the server room, I knew that.
Now, our
that was
guest
it.
Wi-Fi is working, but our secured Wi-Fi is
Right,
not
behind
working.
the password stuff, yeah.
So
Exactly.
I don't understand why one would work and not the other.
Someone told me the wire up there was done when the building was remodeled, but I don't know if I don't know if it's been replaced since then or not. If that's the case, it'd be
I doubt it,
really old.
to be honest. The way
Like 20 years, wouldn't it? When was this building done? In 2001 or something?
I guarantee you there's wire that was there that's being used right now that was put in 20 years ago.
I think Dave Moore said Joe put it in.
Was it 06? It's been a long time. Yeah. I was pretty shocked when I saw it.
I was too.
Wow.
Yeah, because I came over the summer to help with your guys' Wi-Fi show, and up there, and I was like, are they aware of that? It's an absolute mess. And one of the things too we're gonna have to worry about too when it comes time to switch is I know you guys need that stuff to work, so we'll need to do it over a holiday or something because it won't be an overnight thing, you know, to replace the hardware and whatnot. Can't just come in and plug things in and say, oh, we're good. You know, it's never that easy. Any other questions or concerns or clarification?
You have it?
Well, I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
The $24.50 a month, is that like a year contract, or is that just until we switch again, or what?
Exactly. So that will go monthly, and
I mean, that price is good for 2 years, 3 years?
as long as Microsoft keeps it the same. We can't it's not like a Verizon, like a contract, you know, with Microsoft. As long as they don't change the price, we won't change the price.
Are we the customer or are you the customer at that point?
As far as,
Or as will we get billed from Microsoft?
no, you would get billed from Telemagin.
Is there a reason why?
I believe it's the way the contract was set up originally.
And know why?
No, it's okay, yeah. That's how we do the other licensing and stuff too, like the Meraki devices and that sort of thing.
Jeff, I know this was in dire need, and we do have the information, but we're looking at another $23,000 a year fixed cost. And I don't know if we have enough in the, what I'd like to do is take all the IT funds out of all of the departments, move them into maybe the town halls, and then we can just pay that bill right out there rather than dividing it out. And we can see what we're looking at, because it's above and beyond $1,700 a month. Times 12 times, or plus the 2,500. But the additional $1,250 to do the other 80 is because you're going to send out a flow chart and we're going to do it ourselves?
You can. I mean, I'll be.
I mean, that's what I thought you said.
You can if you'd like, but I'm absolutely here to help because you can do it on your own time if you need to, but if you just, all it is we're logging in, and I can send out basically a document stating this is exactly the steps to do it. If you have any issues, trouble, or if you just don't feel comfortable, let me know. I'll be happy to assist.
Because from the first one you bid it at 12 hours, and this here you're bidding at 20 to do the other 80. Is that?
The biggest one is the police department because they've got 2016 on there. Some of the other people at the town and whatnot, they don't even have 2016 at all. They just got like an online version, the G1s or whatever. So with the police department, that would be the most legwork, if you will. Plus they work, of course, 7 days a week.
Jeff, do you have a problem with, we have a meeting next Tuesday? Let's figure out how we can fund it and just do it Tuesday. He said he's gonna have to do it at well, that's the hardware though.
Oh, you talking about the server? Yeah,
that's the hardware
that's
for-
different. Yeah, I can do this anytime.
I mean, what are you thinking?
You know, we just talked that it is pressing. I mean, obviously, we can wait till Tuesday. It's not, I don't think it's that big of a deal. But I just know that when you're dealing with technology and it doesn't work, it's frustrating. And when we give them the mess that we have, it's hard to work on and it's frustrating for them and nothing's getting done. So, I mean, obviously, we have got to do something with different variations of the licensing agreements and everything. We've got to get everybody on the same page so we can start moving forward.
First item on our agenda Tuesday, an unfinished business, and we'll figure out how we're going to fund it.
That'll work.
Thank you very much.
You know when you'll have the estimate on the rewire? Did Steve have anything on that so we can distribute to rewire?
I was talking to this guy yesterday.
Okay, that's fine.
So I don't know. He might have obviously been sending it to you.
I didn't know if we would have that by Tuesday or not, or if it's going to take longer.
Ask him tomorrow.
That'll be fine.
So I know the guy was in there yesterday, and they were talking about it. So, okay. Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Hey, if you got a minute, I'd like to talk to you just briefly. Legal, you had something that was...
Yeah, there's one issue. So Chief Dalton had approached the council last meeting regarding the sale of firefighter Hartsock's equipment that we had purchased here to the town of city of Martinsville. He's had discussions with the city of Martinsville. They're agreeing. The chief down there is agreeable to the entirety of the $2,844. We prepared a contract for this. I just need approval to sell the equipment that we purchased specifically for firefighter Hartsock just a little bit ago to go to Martinsville and move through this agreement. But it is for the full purchase price. So it's an interlocal agreement that would be entered
A
into.
motion tonight.
Just so the chief can get it moving with Martinsville. I believe firefighter Hartsock is already down there, correct?
That's correct. Chief Green has contacted me and said that on his end, they will contract responding and they're in agreement. Motion to approve?
To approve the interlocal agreement.
Motion been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded. All in favor? Aye. Sell the equipment. Motion, Shane Craig, 5-0. Need a motion to adjourn, gentlemen.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Greg, Shane, 5-0.
Do you work tonight?
Yeah.
I'm gonna head out. Have a good week.